Welcome back. A lot of people here tonight are London Irish, and so are our next band. For those anoraks among you, you may recognise the lead singer from several episodes of Father Ted. Will you welcome, performing Turn Your Lights On, a band called Brian.
Over hills and back over town, in a city hidden by clouds, wrapped in sheets, asleep in your bed, with a thought loose in your head. Across the universe, higher than the stars, close to touch the face of God. Turn your lights on, turn your lights on, baby. Turn your lights on, turn your lights on, baby. Let me be the one. Know the walls in the old town, in the garden of the cathedral grounds, through a language you won't understand, cleaning books, the lights in your hands, in another country, in another town, worried about you, living on your own. Turn your lights on, turn your lights on, baby. Turn your lights on, turn your lights on, baby. Let me be the one. And all across the world tonight, the light comes chasing the dark. Lights dance over outback towns. Meteorites fall without any sound, flying over the Gulf slipstream. Continents passing, falling underneath. All man-made things must come back to earth, out falling in love again. Turn your lights on, turn your lights on, baby. Turn your lights on, turn your lights on, baby. Let me be the one. The quiet that goes here, a spaceman lost on a new frontier, coming over the horizon, moving east or west. I'll be waiting for your call. I'm the tiniest doubt in your mind, I'm the voice that's in your head. I'm high above your sky.
His second album, Bring Trouble, this year. I met up with Brian, who is Ken Sweeney, last month in Dublin, and he talked to me about why it took 7 years since the release of his debut album, Understand, to give us Bring Trouble.
You should only really make a record when you've got a record to make. And when I did the first album and put it out, it was very much a record that I thought was good and that I believed in. So my idea on it is that you shouldn't really release a record until you have a record to release. And I just wanted to wait until you know, I had songs that I was happy with. I think good music kind of flows. You put it on and you listen to it, and it flows, and it doesn't matter what great album you've got at home. If you put it on and you let the songs go through, you see that the songs kind of flow. It's kind of seamless, and it just kind of works.
Would you say that, like, your first album, Understand, was written about the first part of your life, and then you weren't prepared to go and write another album straight away. You needed those 7 years of experience again to write about, because you'd already written about the first part of your life in the first album.
Yeah, I think that I'm you know, naturally drawn to songwriters, people like Lyle Lovett and Iris Dement. And I love listening to songwriters where you get the feeling that the person has travelled in some way, that he's experienced different things, and you know, there's an energy in sort of records that someone at 17 might make, but you know, it's like if you're in a pub and you get stuck with someone, I'd much more likely get stuck with someone who was a lot older than me, because they have a lot more experience, have a lot more of kind of experiences of life than someone that's maybe younger. And you know, I wanted to make records that you know, that reflect things that you know, that interest me. You know, changes in people, and you know, what we feel about certain things, and you know, how that makes us see the world around us.
Over hills and back over town, in a city hidden by clouds, wrapped in sheets, asleep in your bed, with a thought loose in your head, across the universe, higher than the stars, close to touch the face of God.
But I think what's going on at the moment in a lot of kind of indie music that I'm listening to, it's like there's a melody, but it's like almost as if the melody is being kind of trapped underneath all this other stuff, that it's kind of, there's a kind of a shame in a way to kind of about giving people melody, pure melody, so people are kind of covering it up. And it's like as if, you know, you went into a restaurant and you know, they decided to feed your food to you under the door or something like that. And the kind of record that I wanted to make was, I wanted to kind of open up the door and give people like the strongest possible songs I could give. I mean, whack everything on it. I mean, not just the kitchen sink. Go up and like look underneath the kitchen sink and see what else you can bang on it. So it's a kind of a pop record with every trick I could possibly use. Everything that I've learned about songwriting, maybe in, you know, the last, I don't know, 10 or 15 years. When I sat down to write the songs, We Close 1 to 2, I thought I'll write the biggest, best chorus I can think of, something that was absolutely, you know, unarguable. That when they would get it into Setanta after 6 years of not hearing from me, they'd go, Jesus, you know, this is a great chorus. Like one song after the other. What I tried to do with the album was the first 4 or 5 songs, just go single, 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 and right the way along the line. And then as you get further into the album, maybe some other kind of, I wanted to add some other things. You've got to have a kind of a beginning and a middle and an ending, and reflective sort of songs, but I really wanted to get it on the radio. The thing that happened to us when we started off was we were told, oh, A, you'll never get on the radio, and B, you'll never make anything that can be brought out to kind of to the general public. I think you can get stuck in a ghetto. It's much more important that like milkmen go up the street whistling your songs than it is that you're playing in Camden and, like, you know, 15 music journalists are into you, like who drink in the Falcon in Camden or something like that. It's pop music, and I suppose Bring Trouble is a mixture of my optimism, you know, my happiness coming back into Ireland, and also, you know, writing pop songs and going out and getting the best pop producer I could get to co-produce it with me to make a record as pop as this. And it's really in your face. It's as pop as it can be. It's a bit out of place on the radio at the moment in the sense of like other indie bands, but I kind of like that, you know. Any name is kind of like Echo and the Bunnymen's a really stupid name, but they were like one of my favourite bands. When I was a kid, when I say I was a kid, when I was about 13 or 14, my brother's best friend was a guy called Brian Foley, and Brian Foley was had a certain amount of fame in Ireland. He was the bass player in the Blades, and Brian would come around the house and he had Lenny Bruce's book about Albert Goldman's book about Lenny Bruce, and he had the First Madness album, and he just was a bloke who had kind of the best taste in everything, and the name had connotations, And as I got older and I wanted to do a band, just the name had a kind of a magic to me. It's you know, a name is a story. It's as long as a name antagonises people, I think you got the right name. And I'm happy to say that the name kind of does antagonise people. The name Brian, because it's so simple and it's so pure or whatever. But you know.
Back to a time when I was the one for you in light years. There were light years. I saw new worlds that no one else had seen. With storms that raged for 300 years.
And Ken, who is Brian the band? Because when we did the session for 2FM, you had Ivor and Brian from Divine Comedy, and now you've Dawn here from The Revenants. So who exactly is the band, Brian?
Well, it can be. I mean, I've had some very strange people in the band over the years when we were playing in London, playing gigs. But it's anyone who wants to come aboard at a particular time. Brian and Ivor from the Divine Comedy have been working with me lately. We've been gigging in London, and you know, I have to hand it to them to come back from 30-day tours as they do, and actually, you know, go into a rehearsal studio with me and start playing. But it's kind of nice with them because you're kind of playing away some song, and they kind of open up behind you on bass and guitar, and you think, God, these guys are good. Oh yeah, these guys are in the Divine Comedy. That's where it's coming from. But like, we've had a few people on board. It's still primarily me, but Brian and Ivor are honorary members at the moment, and Don Ryan, who did the session with me today, who's Dublin band The Revenants, I really like and admire as well, has been involved with me over here. So it's a mixture of personnel. The High Llamas in London, and Divine Comedy, and maybe The Revenants over here, and you know, mixed personnel.
As it falls on your seas in light years, there were light years. There were light years. There were light years.
Thanks a million to Brian. On next week's No Disco, we'll bring you the full of the video for Turn Your Lights On, which you saw a bit of there. Also, the week after, we'll show you the acoustic track that we filmed just prior to carrying out the interview, where Ken was performing with Dawn from The Revenants. Now for Murs, who is Conrad Lambert. He's just signed a record deal with Epic, and he plans to release his debut album in September.